This is the Jack Murphy Podcast. Here's your host, Jack Murphy.
So I think, now, by the way, Alfred Trebet, the famous actor, joining me here today on the Jack Murphy Podcast. Folks, I really think, I said this on my walk in the woods this morning, that I think we dodged 2 bullets. I think the good Lord above helped us dodge 2 bullets. The first one was Hillary Clinton, which we now know is an unstable mentally person. She's not stable. She's on tranquilizers. We have it from multiple sources. And to be honest with you, I was never comfortable with that woman. During Bill Clinton's first term, she made my stomach turn every time I saw her. She was so angry and vindictive-like, and she was always talking down to you like she's superior to you. She knows.
Now, I think you could actually be quoting Bill Clinton here.
Yeah, yeah, good. But anyway, I won't say I hate her because I try not to hate anybody, but I always had a bad feeling about her. And then during her last run at the presidency, when Trump beat her, when they kept showing her having to be escorted places, where I think they gave her a little too much of the tranquilizer just before the speech to get her through the speech, and then it kicked in. Remember that one where they were dragging her to the van?
Right.
And sticking her. So we now know she was mentally so we dodged a bullet.
Right, and that occurred at a service commemorating September 11th.
Yes.
It was in 2011. She was leaving, practically collapsed in the arms of her security detail, and they pretty much kind of tossed her in the back of her black SUV.
And, of course, the media just blew it off. She was just tired.
Well, instead of going to the hospital, which you would think if somebody collapsed in the street like that, that would be the first step. But they took her instead to Chelsea's apartment, where
the tranquilizers were.
Just a little while later, she showed up out in the street, normal, hugging this little girl, taking pictures. And it's like, wow, I mean, something's not right. But she had other health issues, too. I mean, they were neurodegenerative disorders and blood clots and all sorts of different things.
And the story I read this weekend was when she was, when she was accusing Trump of Russian collusion, which we're going to talk about in a minute. The fact was the Russians knew all this about her, and they would rather deal with her than him because they figured that they've got this stuff they can blackmail her with at some point, and they can control her. But that's the first bullet we dodged. The second bullet we dodged was Kamala Harris, who just isn't intellectually capable of being the president of the United States. And I really believe that. I mean, I'm sure she's a nice person. Actually, I've heard she's a really mean person. She was never able to keep any staff or anything, but she's one giant word salad. That's all she is.
If you saw her brief address, like 2 minutes, I guess, it was young Democrats who were meeting in Washington, D.C.
It's horrible.
She couldn't even deliver a live message. It had to be recorded.
Yeah.
And it was 2 minutes long and didn't make a lot of sense. And it seems as though that she is under the influence of something when she delivers these. When
the only worst performance at that event you're talking about was Nancy Pelosi. Who? Why you would bring Nancy Pelosi to a young Democrat Energizer event? I have no idea. But
there was the guy in the panda suit.
I didn't see him. Thank goodness. I missed that.
There was a guy on stage in a panda suit trying to rev up these young Democrats.
Oh, that'll do it.
And get them involved and excited. Yeah.
And then I saw a clip of a guy that I don't know who this guy is, but apparently it's a fairly popular liberal or Democratic podcast. I know about Pod Save America, but this guy I'd never seen. But he did this interview recently where he says, "So I got a call from the Democratic Party and the Harris campaign, and they wanted me to have her on the podcast." And he said, I wanted to because obviously I'm a Democrat. I supported her candidacy, and he said, so we sat down and we did an hour, and it never aired by mutual agreement. And they said, why? And he said, just her takes didn't make any sense.
Right.
She didn't say anything that made any sense. She didn't make any good points, and I didn't want to make the Democrats look bad, so we mutually agreed not to run. Anyway, that's the second bullet we dodged.
Well, but in addition to that, we could have had Tampon Tim Walz as vice president.
Yes, it's another bullet dodge. And now there's a lot of people that were in the National Guard with him in Nebraska who think he may have been passing secrets to the Chinese.
He made an awful lot of visits to China and took an awful lot of young people over there.
And he just said the other day in an interview that the United States has lost its standing on the world stage, and the only people with the moral standing to correct it all were the Chinese, who have slaves working for them in their factories in China. But anyway, and then I think we've dodged those two bullets, and then we received a punishment from the good Lord. It was Joe Biden. And it was to remind us how bad things could be if we don't really look at our representatives and hire leaders. And
well, we're breaking this news right here today on the Jack Murphy podcast because we find out from the Israeli intelligence, the Mossad, that Ayatollah Khomeini spends all of his days getting high and sleeping. So the story we're breaking right now is Joe Biden is the Ayatollah.
He's an Ayatollah. He's a mullah. Hey, man, it's the truth. No joke. I'm a mullah.
Yeah?
No, I have always thought, and I'll probably get one of those fatwas issued on me like Seinfeld did like Larry David did on Curb Your Enthusiasm. But, a lot of people believe that a lot of the false religions are started by Satan. And this is a religion that's a death cult. I mean, it's really a death cult. Their whole mission existence seems to be to kill Jews. And when they're not killing Jews, they're killing each other. And I think the Mossad probably knows every move this guy makes every second of every day and could kill him at any time if they wanted to. But you're right. They say that he spends half the day sleeping, the other half doing drugs and talking to spirits. And I'm going to guess they're evil spirits, not the good kind.
Well, not to get into too much of the weeds about Islam, but they believe that there is a Messiah who will be coming, the Imadi.
Yes.
And when he returns, there basically has to be global bloodshed.
Right.
And so this sect of Islam thinks it is incumbent upon them to
get it started,
speed up the return.
Get the party started, exactly.
To speed up this global destruction. And to me, it seems much more rational to follow a religion that believes in peace and love and forgiveness and all these things.
I'll tell you, there's a guy that had a great influence on me, and I underwent a major conversion because of it. But there's a guy on YouTube named Sam Shimon, and Sam does some of the boldest things you've ever seen. He does these debates where he will debate Muslims, Mormons. He doesn't care who it is, and Jews to talk about Jesus. But the thing about him is he knows more about the Quran than they do. And so he lets them dig their own grave when he's in these debates. And there's stuff in the Quran that he reads that would just... Did you know that Muslims wash out their nose every morning because they think the devil lives in there at night?
I did not know that.
I mean, you should go watch some of Sam's debates with... and like in the Quran, I can't remember if he has two left hands or two right hands. Allah in the... See, a lot of people say, oh, we worship the same God. We believe in the same... We don't.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nothing alike, but I don't want to get too in the weeds with that with you. But yeah, the Ayatollah, that's bad news. And maybe that comet that you told me about will save us from all this bloodshed and everything.
Well, there is apparently, I don't know if it's a comet. It is an object that's coming out of another solar system.
Now, is this the one that they've been talking about for a couple of weeks that they found on that new camera down in Chile or Peru or wherever it is? And it's
Right.
It's traveling.
They found one sometime back. And
Yeah.
now this is a new one.
Now the guy Avi Loeb from Harvard, the astronomer, he claims that the other one is from extraterrestrials because
He thinks it might have some sort of biological origin.
yeah,
And the thing is 12 kilometers wide. And he says it has hostile intentions. Now, I don't know how he knows that.
yeah, and it's traveling at some astronomical speed that objects normally don't travel at.
That's supposed to be here by November.
When you say it's supposed to be here, you're talking about it's going to hit the Earth in November?
It's supposed to approach Earth by November, which could put a crimp in Thanksgiving.
How close is it going to get? Because I may want to do my turkey early this year.
You might, but on the good side, it could be just Captain Kirk and Spock coming back to save the whales.
Okay.
You remember that was one of their missions.
Yeah, no, but I mean, seriously, does he say how close it's going to come, or it's going to be a flyby?
Well, if it has hostile intentions, it would seem to be too close for comfort, regardless.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know how you would know it has hostile intentions.
Exactly.
Unless it's got Nazi symbols on it or something they saw in the photos.
We're coming to get you, Earth.
How would you know? So, other big news now, we were touched on the Hillary Clinton thing a little bit, Alpha, but now we know that originally Russia collusion was started by Hillary Clinton, the Steele dossier. She hired a law firm to get him to write the thing and to push this narrative, and they distributed it to the gullible media who lapped it up like dogs. And then the intelligence people got a copy of it, and they go to they all read it, and they go to Obama and they go, look, we don't, this thing has no basis for truth. There's no facts here. It's just all this guy wrote down all this stuff. There's nothing to go on here. And he said, okay. And then when looked like Trump might win, Obama calls them all back in, apparently. This is what we're starting to hear in this testimony. He calls Clapper and Brennan and the usual bunch in there, Comey, and Andrew McCabe was probably there. And he goes, look, I want you to write a new assessment of this Steele dossier and come up with some sort of an assessment, and then you're all going to sign it. And they did, and if you remember, there were like 45 current or former intelligence people who supposedly had read the document and believed that there was Russian, and they all signed it. And again, the media lapped it right up. And how long have we been hearing about it?
Well, there are a lot. I have a lot of friends who believe all this is a lie. All I'm saying is wait until the documents come out. And there's supposed to be some new documents coming this week. And I'm not sure where they're going to go, but here's what we have so far. Intelligence did bring to the White House, to Obama, who was still the president at the time. This was on December 6th.
Right.
What's called the Presidential Daily Briefing. And in that PDB, it said,
I like that. You used the initials. That's cool.
Well, having worked at the White House.
I'm going to write that down so I can use it later.
The PDB. It said that there didn't seem to be any evidence to advance this narrative that there was collusion.
Right.
This was on December 6th. Being part of the DBD, this should have gone directly to the president-elect, Donald Trump.
Right.
But they did not. They did not publish that report. Instead, they said, well, we're going to initiate a new report. What do you want it to say? We want it to say the opposite of what that one said. And before they started working on that report, they leaked that information to the Washington Post and the New York Times
As they always
and
do. And didn't they
totally ran with it.
Didn't they do it on January 6th? I believe I read that this morning. Isn't it interesting that all these things happen on January 6th? The insurrection, the release of this intelligence report on January 6th.
Right, and you're right. The usual suspects were there: Brennan, Clapper, Comey, Susan Rice, Lisa Monaco,
who all lawyered up, by the way. And I think if everything that we're hearing, if they document it comes out, I think there's going to be some people that go to prison for conspiracy, because there is no statute of limitations on conspiracy or treason.
Well, for whatever they may claim there is a statute of limitations, every time they speak out and refute those reports, that resets the timeline.
Exactly.
For the statute.
Exactly.
So they're better off just keeping their mouth shut and trying to wait it out.
They can't. They think they're... First of all, Obama thinks he's the smartest person in the room always.
And there are people in my circle, people that I know, who claim that is the gospel truth.
Right. And there's people around him who think they're the smartest person in the room. And Trump thinks he's the smartest person in the room, too, by the way. And so they can't keep their mouth shut. They just keep on digging the hole deeper and deeper. All I can say is it's going to be a really interesting year.
Well, Radcliffe, who was intelligence director, was on Sunday shows, and he said that there are investigations and indictments coming, and he named names. And of course, the number one name, John Brennan.
Tulsi Gabbard says she's referred this whole thing to the Justice Department for indictments.
John Brennan, who one pundit calls penitentiary face.
Yeah.
There is evidence that he did lie to Congress. He repeatedly lied in interviews. He knew for a fact that the Steele dossier was phony, and yet continued to advance it anyway, as if it were truth.
Who is the California congressman that's been saying this was a lie since the first day it came out, and he's now Trump's intelligence advisor? He has a post at the White House, but
Darrell Issa.
No, not Darrell Issa. I just saw him over the weekend with Maria Bartiromo.
Well, that's Radcliffe then, I guess, right?
No, it's not Radcliffe. It's Denon. I'll find his name in a minute. But he's been saying since the beginning, and he went through it with her. And I've never heard a more succinct explanation of what happened in a 15-minute interview than he gave. Because he's been doing the hearings and everything in Congress the whole time, and just unbelievable story.
Well, speaking of California Congressman, Adam Schiff, I think, seems to get his proverbial tit in a ringer here, not only with this, because he kept claiming months and months that the evidence was in plain sight, and we
have it, we're going to release it, he's going down.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest liars in Congress.
But now he's involved in some mortgage scams.
Just like Letitia
James,
Yeah, same deal.
And that could land him a few years in jail if those things are prosecuted successfully.
He did it he's done it with everything, with January 6th, with the Russia collusion, where he just comes out and says, we have the evidence.
Yeah.
And we're going to be presenting it. And when we do, and then he's Mr. Never Produce.
The evidence is in plain sight, he says.
And I even saw over the weekend that John Bolton is somehow tied up in this. And I was sick of John Bolton during the Bush administration. Mm-hmm. Because he always had some theory of something, and nothing ever happened.
Those of you who don't remember John Bolton, the guy with the big
walrus mustache.
Right, he's Yosemite Sam without the charisma. Who never met you gold-earned galoot.
I think I got him up here on the wall.
Yeah, could be there.
Somewhere.
He never met a foreign conflict he didn't love.
Oh, he loved it.
Yeah, he was definitely a hawk.
He was, and he was definitely in on the Russian collusion thing too. He pushed that narrative too.
Well, he didn't necessarily push it, but he received information that Brennan et al. Had cooked up this scheme And he got that information, and instead of passing it on to his boss, the President of the United States, he hid it away in a safe and didn't. And so when you have, let's say you have a family member or an employee who has detrimental information.
Does the name Nunes?
Devin Nunes.
That's who I was trying to think of a minute ago. Devin Nunes.
If you have a family member or employee who has information that's detrimental to you, and they say, well, I'll just keep this to myself. Regardless of which side of the political spectrum you're on, you've got to admit that that is a dangerous criminal thing.
Yeah. Devin Nunes also said in an interview that I watched with Maria Bartiromo that he was talking about the raid at Mar-a-Lago, and he said they weren't looking for classified documents. They were looking for something else that clearly they did not find. And he said, I think they were looking for my 45-page theory on all this stuff that the president read but didn't actually get a copy of, I think is what he said. But he said that raid was all about finding something that they didn't find. And when they didn't, they used some documents to claim he had, violated the law.
Well, this is just me thinking here, but at some point, there has to be all the information that came out in the investigation of the death of Seth Rich. Now,
Seth Rich, which one? There've been so many.
He was an employee or a member of the Democratic Committee in Washington, D.C., a young guy, I think 23, 24 years old, murdered in the street in Washington, D.C. And the claim was it was a robbery, but there was nothing stolen.
Right.
He had information, and there's a train of thought that said he is the one that passed along some of Hillary's email to WikiLeaks so that could be published. So, again, it's just me speculating here, but I think when information comes out about the death of Seth Rich, there will be a earth-shaking reaction.
I don't know anything about. I remember that vaguely, but God, so many people in that Clinton-Obama circle have died. What about the chef, the Obama chef that was found nude in a 4-foot deep pond with a surfboard, who was drowned?
And he was over 6 feet and a talented swimmer.
Yeah, and the water's 4 feet deep. I mean, something about that is there's something not right about that.
Yeah, and then there were conflicting stories about where the Obamas were, whether or not they were there. They said they were out of town, but then there's evidence that Barack Obama was on the scene. Yeah, there's some hidden story there.
It's just a shame that The View won't be on the air to investigate some of these things.
Well, I guess
we're talking about, because I've heard The View is going on hiatus.
Of course, I don't watch the show. That comes as a big surprise to you, I'm sure.
I don't either. I just see the clips that are designed to outrage Republicans, that's all. But another gift from the good Lord above, as far as I'm concerned.
But they're already working on finding replacements for Whoopi and that whole gang. They're doing focus groups to find out who would replace them. And they tried 5 screaming goats. but the group said, no, that's just more of the same. So that's not going to work.
Yeah, I think the plan is you put them on hiatus and then they just never come back. Because
they just disappear.
If you fire them, that's another thing I don't understand about CBS. Us being radio guys, in radio, when you get fired, you don't get a chance to come in and say goodbye to your audience the next day. They just terminate you, and that's that. They don't let you go back on the air because they know you're probably not going to say anything nice about them. Why CBS allowed Colbert to stay on the air after they told him that they were ending his show, and he's been ripping them to shreds every single night.
He's got 10 months. He's got till May to do this.
And,
of course,
I saw this story about his agent. He has some real big, powerful agent who, of course, I don't know. But apparently the agent knew about this a couple of months before him, but he wanted to tell him in person, face to face. And he couldn't because he was doing some other stuff, and then Colbert went on this long vacation, and he didn't want to ruin his vacation. So he comes back from this long vacation, and he tells him, like the day before he's going back on the air, that this has happened. It's a big shock to him, and everybody else in the whole world already knows about it pretty much.
well, and The View, Sonny Hostin, said him being removed from that show was the threat to the very foundation of democracy and free speech. It's like, well, he's given 10 months to exercise his freedom of speech.
And boy, he is.
And
He's
in New York, there was a planned protest to protest the fact that he would be being taken off the air. And 20 people showed up.
I saw some video footage of that. It was so sad. He's under a tent, all sweaty and everything, and it's a big protest, and there's like 20 wackos there. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, nobody cares.
Yeah, there's no two bigger echo chambers in the world than L.A. and New York for people who think they're important and matter, and that whenever they do something, the whole world shakes at whatever it is they're saying or whatever opinion they're offering. And I heard a good explanation of this, and I never really thought about it the other day. I think it was Joe Rogan was talking to a reporter. I don't even think it was a regular show, but he said, Kimmel, Colbert, he goes, they're really not comedians. They basically write, or they have writers who write everything for them now, and it's basically written for a real hand-selected studio audience that they know will react favorably to it, and then they just read it off the teleprompter. And then they have a small group of hand-selected guests that they come on the show that agree with them on just about everything, and that's the way they operate.
Yeah,
totally opposite of the way Carson and Letterman back in the day, and other Letterman's changed.
Well, and Leno has talked about it. Carson did too when he was on the show. He said his goal was to try to get as broad an audience as possible to maintain a large audience, and he got it and kept it. And Leno did too. And you do that not by keeping your opinions to yourself necessarily, but at least being fair and honest in your depiction and in your jokes and all these things. It's just
not totally alienating 50% of the people or over 50% of the people out there.
Right.
Repeatedly over and over and over every single night, which is what they seem hell-bent on doing. But, besides that, I even saw one of the guys on the morning show on CBS, and the only person on there I know anymore is Gayle King, but they were all lamenting Colbert getting the axe. And this guy said, look, the landscape's changed. Late night is over. I mean, nobody watches late night. And he started doing the ratings, and let's cut to the weather, Joe. They wanted to get. The fact of the matter is, nobody is watching television anymore, cable television. I mean, with the exception of Alpha's tremendous show, Sweet Magnolias on Netflix, I bet most of us couldn't name a relatively new sitcom that's on television right now.
I think the shows that we most talk about are the ones that are streaming on Netflix or Hulu or
nobody
wherever
watches.
else.
I'm having a big argument at my house right now about, I just moved, and I got my studio all redone and got some stuff at my studio I wanted to get done. And I got the AT&T high-speed internet, fiber, And for a long time I had YouTube TV. And, it's for what you pay, it's expensive. And it's got a lot of sports on it that I don't care anything about. I want to watch Georgia football in the fall. But it's all the local channels. And I've got this little $9 antenna that I plugged in the other day, and I get like 16 local channels.
Wow.
4K, clear as a bell, on my high-def television in HD. And so the only thing I won't get is ESPN, which I could care less about unless George is playing on that channel. And so I don't need it. I spend most of my time on YouTube. I'd rather spend the $15 on the commercial-free YouTube than on anything else because you can get about anything on there.
Well, I think you can be proud of yourself for that, for you standing up for yourself. And we can be proud of you and your family, because I read something the other day that the birth rate in America is at levels of civilizational suicide.
Yeah.
And that's not just true of the United States, but other Western countries as well.
It's also true in China. It's true in all over Europe. There's not enough people being born to support the economy and the population in the future. And at some point, it's going to lead to societal collapse.
Right. In the United States, it's 1.6 per family, and it should be well over 2. But your family,
we got
Jack,
2.
is contributing. You're continuing to grow and produce people.
We got our 2, and my son could still get busy and create some more. I don't know. It could grow at some point in the future. He just hadn't found the right woman yet.
And I'm sure you yourself would volunteer if
anytime.
There was
but I was spayed and neutered years ago. So
oh damn! Oh well.
I had my 2. I did my part, and I said, "That's it."
Well, see that you should be spreading your seed everywhere now. Because
I could have it undone.
Yeah. I think that could be your calling in life.
I could have it undone and
to help repopulate the world.
I don't think that's a good idea.
There's one story I got to share with you because this is in New Jersey, and you got to think, okay, well, it's New Jersey, but here's a guy named Searcy. Joe Searcy is his name.
Okay,
79 years old, had hip surgery. He's disabled. Of course, he's retired.
Probably a veteran.
Yes. So how does he spend his days? He gets his lawn chair, goes out to his driveway, and sits on the street and waves at people.
I love those guys. They show them on the news sometimes, people that do that. They do a big build-up, 79-year-old so-and-so.
You and I, we grew up in the South, Jack. I mean, that's what you did.
Yeah. You might even, if you were driving home from work, you might even stop and talk to the guy for a few minutes. How you doing? Or hand him a tea or something as you went by.
Well, when we were growing up, I mean, there was no internet.
No.
It was hot as hell in the house. You'd go out and sit in the shade under a tree or on the front porch on your good couch, because that's where you put your good couch, on the front porch, because you're proud of it.
or the good couch was inside, but it had a clear plastic cover on it that you stuck to.
Could be that. And you'd wave at people. You'd drink your sweet tea, and you'd wave at people, and sometimes they would honk. I'm not talking about blowing your horn. Sometimes they just honk because that's the way we are in the South.
Right.
But this guy did this, and you'd think that would be an endearing thing, but his neighbors hate him. They think he is a menace to the neighborhood.
There's probably some HOA, the HOA lady out there.
People are driving by to see Joe, and they see him out there.
And
people
honk.
Make special trips to come down his street.
And the neighbors don't like to honk. Really.
And blow their horn at Joe. No, they actually call the police on him. The cops show up and say, Joe, look, you can't wave, or you got to go sit in your backyard.
Now, wait a minute. I don't think that's un-American.
Exactly. Go sit in your backyard or go sit in the house. And you know what Joe said to them?
I know what I wish he said to them.
Well, he said, you go take a shit.
Okay, I was going to say F off, but...
Yeah.
That's great.
He told the cops, just go take a shit.
That reminds me, yesterday I was in the 7-Eleven. I stopped to get something at 7-Eleven, and there's this older lady at one register, and I hate to go to her register because she's always in a bad mood. And there's 2 other employees that are over there just one of them stuffing their face, and they're talking. And there's like 4 people behind me, and we're all right here. And this lady, the younger woman that had been eating, she finally comes over to the register. She goes, I need to get this line right here in the middle. We need to get this line centered up. And I turned, the guy behind me was even older than me, and I turned to him, I said, better get this line straightened up right here. He said, she can kiss my ass. He didn't even hesitate. He said, she can kiss my ass. That's what she can do. Well, I'm glad he said that, because you can't stop a man from sitting in his own front yard and waving. What's the law against that?
Right. His own front yard, waving. Now, in defense of some of the neighbors, they say there's as many as 3,000 cars a day coming down their
Wow,
street.
he is popular, isn't he?
Right. But instead of, calling the cops on him, embrace it.
Yeah.
Set up a lemonade stand or sell,
Well,
have some beer ready.
I thought you were going to say there's an HOA involved because I always see these stories on YouTube. I saw the greatest one over the weekend. This woman was somewhere in Florida, and she looked like the biggest Karen you've ever seen in your life. And she had on, it almost looked like a bulletproof vest, but it was just a vest, and it said HOA enforcement.
Oh, gee.
And she had a clipboard. And she's in front of this house, and she is like looking in the car, and the police come. And the cop goes, "Lady, what are you doing?" She goes, "I'm the president of the HOA enforcement." And he goes, "Well, I don't care who you are. You can't look in the people's car, and you can't be out here in the yard harassing them." And she goes, "I'm the HOA enforcement officer." And anyway, this went on for like 10 minutes. He cuffed her and took her away. He said, "This is a civil thing. You can take them to court, send them a fine, but you can't just stand out here and harass people and go through their personal property. Being the HOA enforcement officer doesn't give you any special powers to come on their property."
You know what that reminds me of? On the Andy Griffith Show, when Barney started passing out citations, and Gomer got fed up with it and learned you could do a citizen's arrest.
Citizens
arrest! Citizens arrest!
That's great. It always comes full circle back to the Andy Griffith Show, doesn't it?
That lessons you learn from the Andy Griffith Show could take you all the way through life.
Yep, sure could. Well, on the final note of the day here is the outrage that is all over the internet, social media yesterday and today. You see a lot of unhinged Trump derangement syndrome victims who are saying, I can't believe we're paying for that blankety blank to go to Scotland and play golf. It's costing us millions. What are we doing? And then they have the press conference where they announce that they're going to buy $750 billion worth of energy from the United States.
Right.
They're going to buy $600 billion in other products from the United States. We're going to eliminate this big trade deficit we've had with the European Union forever. I mean, just all sorts of good news came out of it. And all you see on the news is he cheated at playing golf, and it cost $10 million for him to go over there. That's all you hear about.
All I ask of people who knee-jerk reaction to things like that is wait and find out what are the results. This is a story you hear, but what are the results? What's actually happening? So, in addition, to the trade agreement with the European Union, it's 15% tariff on their goods, 0% on American goods. And that seems like a pretty fair deal to me. Mm-hmm. And while he was there, he negotiated a peace between Thailand and Cambodia. They are closer to a trade deal with China. And in the meantime, the U.S. economy is spiking. GDP numbers come out on Wednesday.
Hey, we had a budget surplus last in the month of May or June because of the tariffs.
And so,
can
anybody remember the last time we had a budget surplus?
I can tell you exactly when. It was in May of 2017.
Wow,
was the last time it happened. I heard that on the news this morning.
So more than 8 years.
Yeah, since we had a month with a budget deficit. But I'll tell you what's happening in addition to the people here on social media and the media here talking about the golf. I mean, that's all you see is he's playing golf the whole time, blah, blah. Now, and this is great, some of the other European media and leaders are saying, we got rolled by Trump. This deal is terrible. Well, it's terrible because you've been sticking it to us for so long. And what we're finding out with a lot of these trade deals are this. The fact that we didn't have access to their markets, they had access to our markets, they were producing goods so cheaply that they were able to send them over here and stack up money. And now they can still send goods over here and make money, just not as much. That's the difference. And that's what's happened. That's the reason they're willing to pay the 15%, because they can still make stuff. And by the way, the energy they're going to get from us is going to be much cheaper than they could get it anywhere else.
Right.
And it will help our energy producers. And we may yet get 2 provinces from Canada as a part of the United States. And it's the good 2 provinces, the one with all the oil and natural gas.
That'll be great, eh?
Yeah. I mean, Canada, I don't know why they're sitting on their hands, because they're going to be last to the party and they're going to get the worst deal.
Well, yeah, I think there's still that negative reaction from both Canada and from Mexico, because Mexico is warning its citizens to not go to Florida.
Right.
Don't travel to Florida.
That's fine.
Because, we understand alligators like Mexican food, so I'm just saying. Meanwhile, in Veracruz, there was a mayor there who, 62-year-old woman, cartels dragged her out of her car and murdered her. You know, and so don't travel to Florida? Come on.
Mexico is one of the most dangerous, corrupt countries in the entire world. And then that's the other thing they're touting on social media. I saw this morning on my walk, was some sort of a deal, and I don't even know if this is true. Maybe you'll know. A deal between Canada and Mexico, set up an independent deal where they're trading, and it says, and on social media, of course, so sad, so sorry, America, you got left out of this one. I go, well, the big problem with that is they got to come through America to get those goods back and forth, unless you want to take a boat and go around, the long way. But if you want to use our highways, we're going to have to be in on that deal.
Yeah, their plan is to try to bypass the United States in some way, but you're right. I mean, transportation has to go through us. And
what are Canada and Mexico trading so much of? Mexico produces all of its own energy through Permex, or whatever the name of their state energy company is. They've got tons of oil resources and natural gas, and so does Canada. So I don't know. And supposedly the big holdup in Canada, is what I heard today, is the dairy products.
Right.
The Canadians don't want our dairy products because it'll screw up the poutine market up there or whatever.
Well, that was another thing with the. There's a new trade agreement with China, or with Japan as well, because Japan was not and Australia, neither country was buying U.S. farm products like American beef. So now that's going to start happening. So American beef can be sold to Japan and around the Pacific. So,
and I hope they do something too about, they pretty much destroyed a lot of the fishing and shrimping industry in America with regulations and so forth. And I saw a documentary over the weekend on shrimp. And I'll tell you what, I had already stopped buying farm-raised shrimp from outside the United States a long time ago, and farm-raised salmon, just because I've read so many terrible things about it, that it's loaded with heavy metals and what they feed it and so forth. But these shrimp that they import from Vietnam and Venezuela and South American place, they're basically raised in sewage pool, nasty water, and they can live in it and grow and eat the stuff that's in that water and survive. And then it's full of silica, and they ship it to us, and we eat it. So I'm not eating any more shellfish unless it's caught off the coast of North Carolina or South Carolina or Florida, and I know that for certain. And you never know when you go to a restaurant what you're getting.
Same way with tilapia, because a lot of the tilapia comes from China.
I never eat tilapia.
It's just a mild, delicate fish, and so people
that's easily faked. That's easily faked.
And raised the same way what you just talked about, and
now,
unsanitary conditions.
There is a wild tilapia that's found all over the world. There's wild tilapia in Florida, Hawaii, other places. But the tilapia you buy in the store, it's all farm raised, and it's not good for you.
Well, there's going to need to be lots of changes to the fishing industry anyway, because China is overfishing and crossing international boundaries in a lot of cases.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember years ago, back in the 80s, I used to go down to Mexico to Cabo San Lucas, and I would go in the wintertime and go fish, and the local fishermen were complaining back then about the Chinese longliners. And they'd say, they'll show up 20 of these giant processing boats, and they'll put out 100 miles of line and catch everything that comes up on it. So there's a lot of bycatch that's dead, and they just throw it back in the water, and then they process it right on board and freeze it and take it all back to China. And he said, then they leave because they've caught all the fish. And he goes, and then we don't catch anything for a year or two until it recovers. Wow. And he said, about the time it recovers, they come back, and they do it all over again, and they do it all over the world.
I'll be curious to see the results because in both England, in Scotland, Donald Trump is talking about the windmills over there. And Europe has gone big for green energy and windmills. Germany got rid of all their coal-fired plants and went green, and then they discovered that's not a very good idea. Mm-mm. So I'm wondering what the ripple effect that will be, even here, because I mean, he kind of told the truth about windmills.
Have you seen the line in Landman that Billy Bob Thornton delivers about the windmills? Isn't that great?
It's
and it's true. It's the truth. It's they never in their lifetime will offset their own carbon footprint.
Right, and Donald Trump did not put it as eloquently as Billy Bob did in that. But yeah, the story is that. They'll never pay for themselves. They wear out very quickly. Mm-hmm. They
require
cannot
a ton
dispose of them.
They require a ton of oil to keep them lubricated.
Yeah.
They require hundreds of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel to make the concrete, to put the steel and rebar and concrete in the ground to hold them up, and then those blades they have to bury them. You see these blade graveyards that they've created all over the place,
and they're toxic even when they bury them,
and they kill birds.
They're enormous. I mean,
I'll tell you what. If you've never done it, Alpha, I drove cross country when I moved to California a couple of times and back, and there's a place out in Texas when you get out west of Dallas on what is it, I-10, or is it 40? It's 40, right? Yeah, 40. You get out there's an area where you get out there, and I mean you drive about 4 hours and you only see two things, oil pumps and windmills. Yeah. I mean, as far as you can see in every direction, it's these giant windmills, just thousands of them. And I had no idea there were that many, but they are everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's out in the Permian Basin when you drive through there, but there's just oil wells everywhere.
Yes, there is enough energy in the Permian Basin to supply the world for the next 40 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy the amount of it. There's nothing out there, and then you'll just drive through this little town, and it's just like RVs and tents and campers and welding shops and help wanted signs everywhere. It's just crazy what's going on out there. Well, I want to thank everybody for being here, for being a part of the Jack Murphy podcast today. Alpha, thank you for being with us. I know you got a busy day. Tomorrow on the Jack Murphy podcast, I hope Alpha will be back, but Lori Lowenberg will be here, the Dream Doctor.
Oh.
So if you have a strange dream that you've had, or you have a recurring dream, she really knows how to tell you what the dream means. And if you'll follow me on Facebook, you can send me the dream in a message, or you can comment below today, and I'll read it to her tomorrow, and she'll tell you what your dream's about.
There are some recurring dreams that I have.
All right, well, we'll find out what they mean tomorrow.
All right, can't wait.
Right here on the Jack Murphy podcast.
Thanks for watching the Jack Murphy Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. Go ahead, ring it. Get alerts when a new episode drops, and tell your friends about the Jack Murphy Podcast. But only the cool friends, please. Tune in next time for another episode of the Jack Murphy Podcast.